Who was it that said, "Can you smell what the rock's cooking?" That was probably the Rock, right? That was him. I think it was him. But not only smell, touch, sight, sound, all these kind of things are things we experience in our everyday life. And what happens if they are differences in different places and different cultures? We'll talk about that today. Stick around. I was thinking that was kind of a rather ethnocentric introduction, wasn't it? If you're not into,
I never heard that phrase.
I'm sorry.
What is that phrase? What cooking? Something?
So the Rock, the actor, right? The Rock. What's his real name? I forget his real name now.
Dwayne Johnson,
in his wrestling days. Yeah, that's right. Dwayne Johnson. In his wrestling days, that was his call. That was his. Can you smell what the Rock's cooking? Right. That was his big phrase.
That is a pop cultural reference that just
should be careful with those, right? Should be careful. Welcome everybody, episode 79, Two Chaps, Many Cultures. We are talking about the five senses, and of course, this came out of a conversation that Christian and I. This is how last minute these things are. Is sometimes we just we
planned this weeks ahead. Don't give that away.
That's right. There's spreadsheets and charts and all kinds of stuff. Absolutely, but no, we were talking about this early on in a big group, great group discussion where we started to talk about the sense of smell, its impact on how we're affected by that in different cultures, different countries. And I've talked about this before with clients, and they have a lot. If they've had experience, they go, "Yes, I know this place smells differently." It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about of course, other five senses. There's other things that can affect it as well, right?
In my language, there is a phrase, or my first language, there is a phrase that if you don't like somebody, we say, "I can smell that person," as in, I don't want to smell that person. I cannot bear the smell or the odor that person emits. So that's how strongly connected our emotions are to our five senses, to the sensory input, right? So some of you who have known me for a while in different capacities know that I'm a huge fan of neurolinguistic programming as it pertains to the way we experience the world. And there's the five senses are critical in how we make how we receive the world around us, right? That's all we have. We have five gadgets built in with which we can experience it. We can see, vision, we can hear, auditory, we can taste with our mouth or our lips or our tongue, that's gustatory. We can smell, that's olfactory. And then we have the sense of touch with our hands or all of our skin, that's the kinesthetic. So VAKOG, if you will, the vision, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. Those are the five senses with which we compute the world in which we operate. And no wonder that if something smells or tastes different, that it will evoke certain emotions in us, right? What type of smell or taste is really important for you, Brett, to make you feel like you're there?
Vegemite.
How would you describe that? What does that smell or taste like?
It's a very unique experience, both on a couple of different sensory levels. The smell, certainly the taste, and for something that is quite confronting for many people in other cultures, it is absolutely a real grounding experience for me to slap a bit of Vegemite and toast, right? And
what does it compare to? If we've never eaten Vegemite, I have never eaten Vegemite. Yeah. Give me a comparison. What smells or tastes similar?
It just stumps everybody. It's an intense, salty, it can really infuse. It's almost like it's nowhere near that experience of kind of wasabi. You know, wasabi fills the senses, it fills the head with it's similar to that, but without the spice. So there's kind of like this real total invasion in your headspace of the taste, and then of the smell. Then you've got the taste. So I mean, that is obviously something that is, and of sight as well. It's black. It's jet black. So it's not something that necessarily looks appetizing on the surface. You know, it's not like it has a consistency of peanut butter, but just imagine jet black peanut butter, right? And it's kind of one of those examples where I often use it as a touch point to say, if you just approached a piece of Vegemite without the jar and all that kind of stuff, you would kind of just throw it away. You would go, what do? Do I plug my exhaust system up with my, on my car with this stuff or something? I don't know. But and then people eat it, right? And so this is really impactful. So even with in particular cultures, I say, if there's anything in your childhood you grew up with, when you go and live in another culture and you don't have the accessibility to just go down to the corner store and buy it.
See, my wife is clear about this. She says you obviously have a feeling around this, right?
I do.
And, just because my honey's watching, she says, "Ich kann dich gut riechen," which means she likes the smell I give off. So I'm very happy to hear that and feel that. Cecilia says fermented soy and black beans, pungent and salty. There we go. So she explained it for us. Thank you, Cecilia.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, I mean, it's very pungent is the word, right? That really evokes that. The sound of that word, right? Pungent, it really evokes. Immediately, people go, "Oh, now I get it," right? Mm-hmm. So there again, you can say to somebody, pungent is something that really infuses it. It's great. Yeah.
So what these sensory experiences do with us, whether we smell it or taste it or hear a certain melody or a sound, or whether we see something, whether we have the touch of a certain fabric, texture, surface, temperature, wet, dry, whatever it may be, those emotions, those sensory memories are connected to our emotional states, right? So you smell and taste Vegemite, and it evokes a memory. It brings up an emotional state, which it sounds like it's a positive one for you, right?
Absolutely. Although Cecilia asked, is it on potatoes? No, that would not be a positive thing for me. No. But again, that's a cultural thing. It's like, it is, nice warm toast, right? It is something that really kind of makes me go, okay.
This is what puts us into a place of belonging, right? If something that is anchored in our minds with these 5 sensory experiences with a positive emotion, if we can, let's say in NLP we say, if we can fire that anchor off, if we can recreate that emotion by entering one of these 5 or maybe all 5 of these sensory data inputs, then we feel like, yeah, I'm there. Christina says something that is very much true for me, even though I'm not Italian, but Christina is Italian, and for her it's cappuccino in the morning. By the way, for those of you watching, cappuccino is only in the morning. No milk on coffee after breakfast. Whoever tells you different, you will not be treated well by Italian waiters. No, but what that is for me, I come to Italy. Whenever I come to Italy, the smell of Italian coffee, you enter an espresso bar, and it's this smell of freshly brewed coffee. Maybe there's some steamed milk in the background that I smell as well. Maybe somebody's eating a little pastry or a little cornetto or something in the morning. You're like, yeah, that's the smell. Now I know I'm there, right? Or when I'm back in my native culture in Germany, there are certain food items. Those of you who've never been to southern Germany, you don't know what a Leberkässemmel is. But when I can sink my teeth into a Leberkässemmel, then that means, yes, I have arrived. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is amazing, and it really does surprise people how much with clients, I will repeat this over and over again. I mean, plan your packages. I mean, plan what you're going to pack. And they go, but surely I'm going to be able to buy it there. I'll buy something that's similar. And I go, well, not really. I mean, there's like, for example, the Vegemite. Get better Vegemite. People might say, "Isn't Marmite the same in England?" Well, no. You get me and a British person in a room, and we will come to blows.
Is Milo the same thing as Milo?
Milo,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. So these are times, and it sounds, seriously, it sounds so inconsequential in the calm light of day, when you're just saying, oh, well, I think I could probably get by with something that's different. But when you're really under stress, when you're under pressure, when you're missing your home, when you're away from family, the added stress of having to try and go out and find something that is equivalent of what you're used to just adds another layer. So why make it hard for yourself? I say, pack these items that when you think of other times when you've been kind of out of your comfort zone, under stress, this is why they call it comfort food. These are things that, that really bring us back to a sense of centeredness. And there's no better time to do that and have those at your fingertips as when you're away from home and you need something. Yeah.
And sometimes it's the small things. For you, it might be Vegemite. For us, we're a German family who moved abroad. It was a certain type of spicy mustard that we packed in our suitcases and only dosed it carefully over the appropriate foods, because no mustard tastes like it, and every other mustard that was available on the shelves was not up to the task, right? And it may not be because it's an expensive and exclusive or something special. It is a unique taste, and the unique taste is connected to the unique emotion. And that's the same experience why you might enjoy something food or drink wise abroad. You're on vacation, you're in, I don't know, you're in Portugal and you've tried this Vinho Verde, and it was the best wine you've ever had, sitting there on the shores of the Pacific, of the Atlantic at the Algarve coast, and you buy a whole box of it and take it home with you, just to find out 2 weeks later that at home it simply doesn't taste the same.
It tastes the same.
Because it's the air is different, because the food you have with it is not the same, and you're not in the same emotional state as you were while you were on vacation. So our senses play a huge role in how we perceive the world and how we make meaning of the world in which we interact, right?
Yeah. And think about language. So the sound part of it is, again, being on vacation. If someone goes to Australia, they go, I can't wait to go to Australia. You mean there's a whole, like, everybody talks like you? I say, well, yeah, we do. I mean, but we talk a lot broader. And of course, I say, well, that's great for a week or two. I mean, you might think you're in heaven and you got all these accents around you. But after a while, if you're going and living there, the constant bombardment of different sounds and having to process the language, even though it's your native language, in this case, a common language, that sound and bombardment of that dissonance that is not comfortable for you really has an impact on you. And there's music too. There's music is a great connector for people. So if you go to a place where the music is different, again, great for sitting on the beach and listening to reggae in Jamaica. But if you were to live there and try and listen to it every single day, you'd probably climb the walls.
Well, my wife would. That's for sure. We have this conversation about reggae. Now, it doesn't have to even be the whole music. It doesn't have to be melody. It could just be one specific sound. Like what reminds me is when I enter Munich, a city in which I lived for a long time, the sound of the warning bell that the streetcars, the trains that run in the street. What do they call tram? We call it tramban, tramway. What's the word?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Train.
The tram train or the street, I don't know, whatever, you know what I mean. So when they have this unique sounding bell when they are approaching a stop or crossing an intersection to warn motorists and pedestrians, hey, trains are coming, so step aside or get out of the way. That sound, for me, that's such an integral part of being in that place. I don't have to see or hear or feel anything else. If I only hear that sound, I know I'm in that location. So our world is so much tied to these sensory experiences. It's amazing.
Here's another example in Australia where people go and visit and they say, I've been to Australia, and the one thing I noticed is it sounds like Jurassic Park. It's like, and I go, it was unusual. I've had people say that. I said, it is. How did you people ever sleep? Because it is so noisy of a nighttime, especially in the summertime in Australia. Even in the summer, there is so much noise. There's birds, there's crickets, there's animals, and it is cacophony of it. It is an orchestra of sound, of natural nature sounds, that when here, I'm now aware of how quiet it is. Even and I've been camping in, some, in remote places, and it's still very quiet here. In Australia, it's like you are being screamed at by nature. It's like
interesting. I'm aware of that. So next time whenever I go, I'll bring my earplugs to make sure I get a good night's sleep.
You probably do, yeah. But a lot of people have said it sounds like Jurassic Park. Surely that's where they got the sounds from.
And Christina says you sound like Chris Hemsworth. Can we tell Christina that you are in fact Chris Hemsworth? This is just your sidekick
in disguise, right? Absolutely.
Cecilia is asking an interesting question. So what if someone takes Vegemite and puts it on something unintended by the original culture? So she's thinking baked potatoes, but you say that's a no-go. So what if we culturally appropriate those tastes and smells?
Look, I'm not going to poo-poo it, because the traditional way of eating Vegemite, I appreciate when somebody says, no, I actually put Vegemite in pasta. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, well, I could see that. It could actually bring some saltiness, replace what you might use in salt and that kind of thing, and bring a kind of an edge to it. So yeah, I'm not averse to people using the Vegemite in other ways. I've got to be culturally open, of course. This is my job, but I've got to practice what I preach. But the traditional way, this gets back to kind of how hardwired we are.
Here's the comment on that, Brett. Here's the comment on that.
Look, it's been put on many things. And look, what about pizza? Let's not get into the pizza on the pineapple on pizza discussion.
No, or cheese on. That's the worst offense. You eat a pasta with a seafood protein like fish or shrimp or any type of meat out of the water, and then people grind their Parmigiano over it. Like, no, cheese does not go on fish. What is wrong with you people? No.
What about touch? We haven't about touch. So what would be something that's that is touch? I mean, that's a little bit more difficult, right? So are there things that we touch, or actually probably you mentioned it's not so much the touch, it's the sensory ability of our skin.
Right. It doesn't have to be touch. It could be the temperature that you feel. It could be air pressure. It could be like if you're in Denver and get lightheaded or anywhere up in the mountains and you get lightheaded because the oxygen content is different than it is at sea level. That might be.
Or you've got more access to certain substances. That's a different thing, right?
That's a different episode. We'll do that later. And I have to do some research around that first. But you seem to know a lot about that.
No. I mean, I'm uneducated in the area. Sorry about that. That's why I'm asking.
But with touch, I know it's a bit different. But to me, when I return to my home culture, and what I would touch in public would be like handrails or buttons to exit or enter the train to open the doors. There's a different, to me, I imagine it feels a bit different, right? It's a different finish, maybe. Water, the touch of water, I think the way the what's the lime content or calcium content in waters is different from region to region. So the way soap dissolves in water and rinses off my skin is different in different parts of the world. That I think is a touch thing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is getting you a bit ethereal, but I think the touch of history. I mean, I love touching a wall that is like 1,000 years old, right? Of a European church or something like that, and to me that would feel different than a brand new construction in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
And I'm not sure whether that is a physical touch, or it's just the way, the emotion I'm feeling, the connectedness I'm feeling through my interest in history.
Well, I think it has to do with touch as well, because just what you described, I had this experience about 10 years ago. I took a delegation from the US to Germany for business interests, and we went to my hometown where there's a monastery at the edge of town that's 1,000 years, or now 1,010 years old. But in 2010, they were celebrating their 1,000th anniversary, and I took my American friend to this, and the banner outside the monastery said from 1010 to 2010. And he walked in and he said, are you wanting me to believe this is 1,000 years old and humans built this 1,000 years ago? Yes, that's what it is. And he was so overwhelmed by the history, the fact that it's so old, because nothing in the US is that old. At least not to the majority population. It's not the older stuff is maybe not known to the majority of the current population. So he needed to touch it. He needed to feel that and say, wow, this is history experience through my kinesthetic sensory input, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very interesting.
All right.
I love it.
Let us know what smells and sounds and tastes and touches and sights you need to feel like you are in a place for real. So put that in the chat box. Some of you already have. We would be very interested to hear and see and
listen,
learn from you, and maybe be touched by your words as you write them in the chat box. How would that be?
That would be, yeah. And how would that happen? That would be through the effect of your, something that really affects you in terms of an emotional sense, raises the senses of your skin, right? We feel, I mean, it might be like kind of compared to the hackles on the back of your neck raising if you're confronted by something that's a little, there's that kind of feeling of the hair standing up on the back.
Right.
Does it physically do that? I don't know. Maybe it does, but
so for those of you who will not be watching after we conclude the session, after the music has played, Brett will get up, walk into his kitchen, open the fridge, and open that jar of Marmite. No, not Marmite, Vegemite.
Yeah.
to have the hair on his back stand up. So
and with a glass of Milo, tomato. No worries.
Emu. I think we've had an episode around this, so go find it.
You say tomato, I say tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. Or let's just wind it up and come back tomorrow. How about that?
Let's do that. Let's come back tomorrow. Two chaps, many cultures. See you again tomorrow.
See you guys.
Bye.